The HOA president just called the police on me, claiming I'm trespassing on my own ranch. Victoria Peterson handed over my 2-acre lake to her son Tyler, put up an official-looking sign, and had me arrested when I spoke out. She told the officers I was recklessly blocking neighborhood kids from enjoying their rightful lake. This woman truly believes she runs the entire neighborhood and can claim anything she fancies. But there's something she doesn't know about me, and when she finds out, her world will be turned completely upside down. You're about to witness the most satisfying downfall of a true hoe Karen ever captured on camera. By the way, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Curious to see how far this story goes. It all started on a sunny Monday morning. I got up intending to spend a quiet day fishing like usual, but as I stepped out onto my porch, I froze at what I saw. A huge oak sign, about the size of my front door, had been installed right next to the lakeshore. The words carved into it were painted gold: Tyler Peterson Memorial Lake, a gift from HOA President Vicki Peterson to the community. Underneath was a drawing of a boy swimming, along with smaller text, dedicated to our future generations, open to all community children. I just stood there, coffee still steaming in my hand, trying to make sense of it. Somehow, someone had gifted my lake to the entire neighborhood. And a memorial lake? Tyler's still very much alive, isn't he? My thoughts were interrupted by loud laughter. Tyler himself was down by the water, phone in hand, live streaming with excitement. Yo guys, welcome to Tyler's lake. Mom gave me the whole lake for my birthday. 2 full acres of private water. Who wants to come to my pool party this weekend? Comments were pouring in. So lucky. Your mom is awesome. Can I come swim? What struck me wasn't just Tyler's smugness, but how sincerely he believed his mother had that kind of power. It wasn't an act for social media. This kid truly thought being the HOA president's son meant having special rights over everyone else. It made me wonder what other nonsense Vicki had filled his head with. Did she really tell him HOA presidents were like local mayors with unlimited power? Or had a lifetime of being spoiled simply convinced him he could have anything he wanted? Meanwhile, Tyler kept filming from my private property as if he genuinely owned it, completely unaware of how wrong it was. He turned to the camera. Still live. Mom said the old guy who lived here was being selfish, hogging this amazing lake, so she opened it up for everyone. I'm basically the lake manager now. I walked over, kept my voice calm. Tyler, you and your mom need to take down that sign immediately. Tyler glanced up, annoyed at the interruption. Who even are you? I'm David Miller. I own this property, including the lake. Tyler scoffed, turning back to his phone. Guys, the old owner is here trying to start drama, but don't worry, my mom handled all the legal stuff. I stayed patient. Tyler, this is private property. That sign needs to come down. Tyler waved me off. Dude, my mom's the HOA president. She can do whatever she wants. This lake belongs to the community now. His live viewers encouraged him. Tell him, Tyler, HOA rules. I looked at Tyler, calmly. Really? And she told you that? He nodded confidently. Yeah, she explained something about eminent domain and how the community's needs come first. You can't stop progress, old man. As if on cue, Vicki Peterson emerged from a nearby path, carrying a fake designer handbag. She wore a crisp white shirt and navy blazer, her blonde hair perfectly styled, walking like she owned everything she saw. Tyler, sweetie, what's happening? Her tone was sugary, but her eyes were cold. Mom, this guy wants me to take down our sign. She turned to me with a bright, forced smile. Oh, David, good morning. I was actually coming to talk to you about taking down this illegal sign from my property. I met her gaze. Vicki, that sign is on my land. It's coming down. She kept smiling. I think you might be confused, David. This is about our wonderful new community lake access plan. She gestured proudly to the sign. We discussed it at the HOA board. This lake is too beautiful to be kept by one person. Think of the children who could enjoy it. Clean water, fresh air, naturally. A broken bar. This is private property, Vicki. She tilted her head, voice still dripping with politeness. Well, HOA regulations can be complex. Property rights aren't always as absolute as some people think. Tyler jumped in, eager to back her up. Yeah, Mom explained everything. Community needs come first. Vicki patted his shoulder. Exactly, Sweetie, David, once you understand the legal side and see the bigger picture, I'm sure you'll agree this is best for everyone. I looked her straight in the eye, letting a small, knowing smile show. I'm actually pretty familiar with HOA rules, Vicky, probably more than you'd guess. For the first time, her confident smile slipped just a bit. Oh, are you an attorney, David? Let's just say I've had quite a bit of experience dealing with HOAs. Unaware of the tension, Tyler kept streaming. Anyway guys, pool party's happening this Saturday. Mom's making it official. Vicky pulled herself together. David, I really hope we can settle this peacefully. The community has already been informed. It would be a shame if one person's stubbornness ruined this for everyone. I stood my ground, voice calm. Remove the sign, Vicky. She shook her head. I'm afraid that's not going to happen. The decision was made through proper HOA procedures. Then we've got a problem, I said. Vicky stared at me, eyes calculating. Then she took out her phone, her tone suddenly changing a broken bar. Vicky's expression shifted from fake calm to anxious. David, if you're going to act aggressively about these a broken bar, she began, then quickly dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency? Yes, I need help immediately. There's a hostile man here threatening me and my son at our community lake project. He's blocking children's access to the water and making threatening gestures. Tyler glanced at her, confused. Mom, he didn't really threaten us. A broken bar. Vicky shot him a glare and hissed, quiet, Tyler, while covering the phone's mic. Then, back into the phone, we're at the lake behind the Miller property on Oakwood Drive. Please hurry, I'm scared for our safety. Within minutes, a police cruiser pulled up. Officer Martinez, tall, mustached, and calm, stepped out. Ma'am, what's going on here? Vicky hurried over, voice dripping with urgency. Officer, thank goodness you're here. This man has been threatening us for trying to create a legally approved community lake access area. Officer Martinez turned to me. Sir, could I see some ID and proof of ownership, please? Without missing a beat, I handed him my driver's license and the property deed. He examined them carefully, then glanced at the oversized sign. Ma'am, he said, it's clear from these documents that this lake and land belong to Mr. Miller. Do you have any paperwork granting the HOA the authority to put up signs on privately owned land? Vicky's confidence wavered. Well, a broken bar. The HOA does have certain rights. A broken bar for the benefit of the community. A broken bar without proper legal documentation, Officer Martinez interrupted gently. Placing this sign here amounts to trespassing. Mr. Miller has every right to ask that it be removed. The officer left shortly afterward, and Vicky stood beside her car, her face flushed with fury. Tyler had stopped live streaming, looking uneasy. This isn't finished, David, she hissed, her tone now stripped of its sweetness. You don't understand who you're dealing with. I run this neighborhood and I know how to make life miserable for anyone who doesn't fall in line. Tyler tugged at her arm, whispering, Mom, maybe we should just go. A broken bar. I watched them get into the car and drive off, the sign still standing only because Vicky's pride wouldn't let her remove it. So I did it myself, hauling it back into my garage. As their car disappeared, I thought, she's made a big mistake. If she wants to play power games under the guise of HOA authority, then she's about to see what happens when she picks the wrong person to fight with. Looking back at the calm lake, I felt a quiet determination settle in. A storm was coming, and Vicky had no idea what was about to hit her. Any guesses what secret advantage I might have to bring her HOA empire crashing down? Drop your theories below. Over the next week, my mailbox turned into a daily battlefield. Almost every day, 2 or 3 envelopes arrived on fancy HOA letterhead, each stamped with Oakwood Community HOA violation notice. The first notice read, Violation number 1. Landscaping non-compliance. Property owner has failed to maintain landscaping in accordance with community standards. Excessive wild growth around the lake creates an unattractive appearance. Fine, $500. A compliance required within 10 days. I couldn't help but chuckle. That excessive wild growth was actually ancient oak and maple trees that had stood there decades before the HOA even existed. The next letter, violation number 2, noise ordinance breach. Multiple complaints of excessive noise from wildlife on your property. Frogs, birds, and other animals disturb the peaceful environment. Fine. $300. A owner must take reasonable action to control animal noise. Control animal noise? Really? Then came violation number 3, environmental hazard. Lake creates potential mosquito breeding grounds and unpleasant odors affecting neighbors. Health Department consultation advised. Fine. $800. A immediate action required. Every single letter carried Victoria Peterson's neat signature as HOA president, paired with impossibly short deadlines of 7 to 10 days. Meanwhile, Tyler wasn't exactly hiding in shame. Every day, he posted videos flaunting his privilege, unboxing a $200 t-shirt with "Thanks Mom for the allowance boost," visiting a motorcycle dealership, picking out my new ride, "A mom says I deserve it," and dancing by the public pool, proudly declaring, "When your mom runs the neighborhood, life's good." By Friday night, I sat in my dark kitchen, a stack of violation letters spread across the table. The fines had already piled up to $1,600 and I knew legal fees to fight them could easily double that. For the first time since I'd bought this ranch, I felt genuinely discouraged. With my phone beside the letters, I started browsing rural properties online, thinking maybe it was time to sell and move somewhere without an HOA. After all, peace of mind matters more than winning on principally Broken Bar, right? But then I looked out the window at the moonlit lake. This place had healed me after years of burnout from the tech industry. It was where I found purpose again. No, I wasn't about to let one power-hungry HOA president ruin that. Just then, my phone buzzed with an unexpected email. The sender, charlotteshowbookkeeper@gmail.com. Subject, urgent. David, we need to talk. There's something seriously wrong with the HOA's finances. Can we meet tomorrow? Please don't mention this message to anyone. Saturday morning, Charlotte came by my cabin. She was in her mid-50s, gray-haired and soft-spoken, with a nervous energy in her hands as she held her coffee mug. "David, I've been the HOA's bookkeeper for 8 years, and I've never seen anything like this," she said quietly. "What's going on, Charlotte?" I asked. She glanced around, as if making sure no one could overhear. "Vicky is forcing me to sign off on very questionable expenses. Just this month, she's pushed through over $30,000 for supposed community improvements, but nothing actually seems to get done." She opened a folder filled with invoices. Lake cleanup consultation $8,000, community safety assessment $12,000, landscaping emergency fund $10,000. "Are these real services?" I asked. "That's the problem, I can't tell," she said, her hands trembling more. "And whenever I ask, she threatens to accuse me of fraudulent bookkeeping and says she'll have me investigated by the state." Davida Broken Bar. "I'm close to retirement. I can't risk legal trouble, but my conscience won't let me keep quiet anymore." "What do you need from me?" I asked. Charlotte took a shaky breath. She's planning a huge expense next week, $50,000 for something she calls the David Miller Property Lake Remediation Project. She claims it's an emergency measure to protect community health. I leaned forward, my jaw tightening. "So she's actually using HOA funds to attack my property?" Charlotte nodded grimly. "And it's worse at the company she wants to hire?" I looked it up. "It's owned by someone named Peterson. I think it's a relative of hers." A thought struck me. "Charlotte, do you remember when the HOA was first formed? There was a budget manager position in the original charter." She looked puzzled at first, then her eyes widened as a flicker of realization crossed her face. "Oh my goodness, a Broken Bar, yes. I do remember that position, but it's been years since anyone even mentioned it. The first president, Mr. Henderson, never used those powers. He always believed in running everything through open discussions instead of just signing checks himself." She paused, clearly lost in memory. "Actually, now that you bring it up, I remember being confused when Vicky started approving big expenses on her own. I kept thinking, shouldn't someone oversee this? But over time I just assumed if Vicky was so sure of her authority, maybe she knew something I'd forgotten. I guess I got complacent. A Broken Bar technically," she continued. "The founding documents do mention a budget manager, but I haven't thought about it in years. The budget manager is supposed to review and approve any expense over $5,000. I couldn't help but smile. "Charlotte, come with me. I want to show you something." In my home office, I unlocked a cabinet and pulled out a thick folder stamped with an official seal. HOA Incorporation Documents, 2021. When the HOA was formed, I explained, all founding members had to take an officer role. Most people wanted something simple, like landscaping or architectural review. I flipped to the right page and pointed at my name. I was elected as budget manager, and according to the charter, the budget manager has the authority to approve or deny expenses over $5,000 and can freeze HOA accounts if suspicious activity is suspected. Charlotte's eyes widened. You've had this power all along? I never needed to use it, I said. The previous presidents were reasonable, but Vicky a broken bar, she left me no choice. So broken bar, you can stop this $50,000 payment? I can do better, I told her. As budget manager, I can order a full audit of the HOA's finances and freeze the account until everything is investigated. For the first time, hope returned to Charlotte's face. When will you do it? She's planning to approve the expenditure at Monday's emergency HOA meeting, right? Yes, at 2 p.m. Perfect, I said. Let her give her pitch. Let her feel sure she's got it all locked in. Then, right when she tries to move the money, that's when she'll learn her authority only went so far. Monday evening, the community center was packed. Residents filled every chair, many standing at the back. Vicky stood at the front, perfectly styled in a business suit, her PowerPoint ready. Tyler, of course, sat in the front row filming everything for his social media feed. Fellow residents, Vicky began, we have an urgent situation. The privately owned lake on Oakwood Drive poses a health risk. Stagnant water, mosquito breeding, possible bacterial contamination. If we don't act immediately, declining property values and potential lawsuits could cost us dearly. The screen flashed dramatic photos of the lake, filtered to look murky and unhealthy. Fake testimonials scrolled by, warning of rashes and bad smells. And finally, a slickly produced report calling for emergency lake remediation. Total cost, Vicky announced, is $50,000, covering cleanup, testing, and long-term monitoring. A woman raised her hand. That seems high. Couldn't we get another estimate? Vicky's smile tightened. Delays put us at legal risk. The experts advise immediate action. Reluctantly, hands went up. The motion passed. Charlotte, Vicky said, please process the payment immediately. Charlotte glanced at me once, then opened her laptop and began typing. Vicky pulled out her phone to look decisive. I'll call Peterson Environmental Solutions right now to schedule work. But then Charlotte frowned at her screen. You a broken bar, Mrs. Peterson. A broken bar. The transaction was rejected. Vicky's polished calm slipped. What? Must be a technical glitch. Try again. Charlotte typed again, slower this time. Transaction denied. Account frozen pending review. Vicky's face paled. Let me call the bank. She dialed, putting the call on speaker to look transparent. First National Bank. How can I help you? This is Victoria Peterson, president of Oakwood Community HOA. Why is our account locked? We have an urgent transfer to make. A pause. Then the bank rep replied, ma'am, the account has been temporarily suspended pending review by the HOA budget manager. A stunned silence filled the room. Budget manager? Vicky asked, her voice cracking. Who is the budget manager? The bank rep answered calmly, according to our records, the current budget manager for your HOA is David Miller. All eyes turned to me. Vicky looked as if she'd been struck. That's impossible. I'm the president. Ma'am, the rep continued, the budget manager position carries account override authority under your HOA's charter. You'll need their approval to proceed. The bank representative continued, authority for expenditures over $5,000 rests with the budget manager. Mr. Miller submitted a formal request this morning to review the account due to suspected irregular activity. Tyler stood, confusion on his face. Mom, what's going on? Vicky tried to recover. There must be a mistake. David Miller has no authority in this HOA. I stood up slowly, holding up the original incorporation documents. Actually, Vicky, I've been the budget manager since the HOA was founded. I never needed to use that authority until now. A wave of murmurs spread across the room. Residents who had just voted for the $50,000 expenditure now looked uneasy. A neighbor asked, David, how long have you had this position? Since 2021, when the HOA was first created, I replied calmly. It's all in the public record. Vicky's voice trembled. This is sabotage. He's just trying to stop necessary environmental work. Actually, I said, I'm preventing what appears to be embezzlement. I turned to Charlotte. Would you mind telling everyone who owns Peterson Environmental Solutions? Charlotte swallowed hard, then said quietly, it's a broken bar. It's owned by Victoria Peterson's brother-in-law. Complete silence. So Vicky was about to pay $50,000 of home money to her own family? Someone asked bluntly. Vicky shook her head frantically. No, the bid was competitive. There were multiple quotes. Then show us the other quotes, Vicky, someone demanded. She froze. Because, of course, there were no other quotes. Tyler tugged at her sleeve. Mom, I don't understand what's happening. A broken bar, Vicky snapped, her mask slipping completely. Tyler, go, wait in the car. For the first time, everyone saw who she truly was, angry, desperate, and losing control. I took a deep breath and addressed the room. I'll be conducting a full audit of all HOA expenditures from the past 6 months. Any legitimate expenses will be paid. Anything suspicious will be reported to the authorities. Vicky, gathering her papers, tried to regain control. This meeting is adjourned. Actually, as budget manager, I'm calling for an emergency vote of no confidence in the current HOA president, I said. A neighbor immediately spoke up. I second that motion. Several voices followed. I vote yes, no confidence. Remove her. Vicky practically ran from the room, shouting over her shoulder, this is illegal. I'll sue all of you. Tyler trailed behind, looking both scared and confused, as residents filed out, talking in hushed voices about what they'd just seen. Charlotte approached me. David, what happens now? Now, I said, we follow the money. Every transaction, every payment, every so-called emergency expense. I glanced out the window just in time to see Vicky's car speeding away. Vicky thought she was playing chess with someone who didn't know the rules, but she's about to learn that the quietest person in the room is often the one actually running the game. Charlotte smiled, truly smiled for the first time in months. Should I start preparing the full financial records for review? Yes. And Charlotte, I added, this time, you won't have to worry about anyone threatening your job for doing the right thing. The next morning, Vicky shifted into full panic mode. At 6 a.m., she called Charlotte to an emergency meeting at the HOA office, hoping no one would see them. Her tone was no longer sweet or confident, just raw desperation barely masked by anger. Charlotte, we need to fix this immediately. That money wasn't misspent. It was donated to charity. A perfectly legitimate use of HOA funds, Vicky insisted, sliding over a stack of hastily prepared paperwork. Some pages still smelled of fresh ink. Charlotte glanced at the papers, her hands trembling. Mrs. Peterson, a broken bar. I don't understand. The $30,000 spent in the past few months, every penny, Vicky interrupted sharply, went to our community charity fund. It's called the Green Community Fund. It benefits everyone here, and anyone who says otherwise is lying. Charlotte frowned, flipping through the documents. But these papers look very new. The registration date is just from last week, and I don't recall recording any donations in our accounting system. A broken bar. Vicky's eyes darkened, the last trace of her polite mask falling away. Charlotte, are you questioning my integrity? Let me remind you, a bookkeeping mistakes can carry serious legal consequences. Forgetting to categorize transactions properly could be considered negligent. See a broken bar or worse. Charlotte shrank back. No, Mrs. Peterson, a broken bar. I just want to make sure everything matches the official records. Good, Vicky hissed. Now I need you to update all financial records immediately to reflect these donations. Reclassify every transaction as a community outreach. And if anyone asks, you tell them these donations have always been part of our HOA's charitable work. Do you understand me? The threat was clear. Meanwhile, Tyler remained oblivious to the growing scandal. His social media was filled with posts flaunting expensive new toys, a brand new Kawasaki Ninja motorcycle. Finally got my dream bike. Mom said I earned it for helping with HOA stuff. Dance videos shot beside the motorcycle, captioned, when your mom is boss lady and takes care of her hard-working son. Photos at upscale restaurants, decked out in designer clothes, celebrating another successful week, thanks to mom's business paying off. Each post, each boastful caption, each luxury purchase unwittingly building the evidence trail investigators would soon follow straight back to the HOA accounts. Saturday evening, desperate to regain control, Vicky called a mandatory community meeting at the center. She'd spent days preparing an elaborate presentation and trying to rewrite the story before the truth caught up. Vicky's presentation was designed to justify her spending and wrest back control of the narrative, but the desperation behind it was clear to anyone watching. She knew this was her last chance to keep her position and maybe avoid criminal charges. "Fellow neighbors," she began, trying to recover her professional, authoritative tone, "I want to address the completely false and defamatory accusations made against your dedicated HOA leadership." The room was tense. After Monday's revelations about the frozen bank account, suspicion hung thick in the air. Residents sat with arms crossed, no longer willing to give Vicky the benefit of the doubt. The expenditures in question were not personal spending of any kind, she insisted. Every dollar was donated to our community charity, the Green Community Fund, which I personally established to benefit our neighborhood children and environmental projects. She clicked to a slide, "Green Community Fund Day, making our neighborhood better." The design looked professional at first glance, but to careful eyes, it was obvious it had been thrown together in haste. "This charity," Vicky continued, "focuses on environmental improvements, children's recreation, and community beautification. Every dollar spent has supported these noble and necessary goals." A neighbor raised her hand, her voice skeptical. "Can you show us specific examples? What projects have actually been completed?" Vicky forced a smile. "Of course, we've funded comprehensive environmental consultations, community safety assessments, and extensive youth development programs throughout the neighborhood." "Where exactly?" the neighbor pressed. "When did these happen? I'm here every day and haven't seen anything." Vicky deflected quickly. "Many of our activities are ongoing and behind the scenes. Real community work doesn't always involve public construction or big announcements." Tyler stood up beside her, visibly nervous. "Yeah, my mom does tons of charity work, like HOA Broken Bar tons. She's always helping people and doing stuff." The awkward silence that followed made it painfully clear his words were rehearsed and nobody was convinced. Vicky pressed on, her voice growing sharper. "Furthermore, these accusations of financial impropriety are not only false, they're potentially defamatory. I'm seriously considering legal action against anyone spreading these malicious lies about volunteers who sacrifice so much for the greater good." But the mood had shifted. Another resident stood up, voice firm. "Vicky, we want actual documentation. Show us bank statements for this charity, receipts for these activities as proof that any work was done." Vicky bristled. "I don't appreciate being subjected to hostile interrogation by people who don't understand the complexities of community management." "It's our money you're talking about," the neighbor shot back. "We have every right to know how it's being spent." The tension spiked. Faces in the crowd showed growing anger and betrayal. Vicky could see she was losing Thema and panic flashed across her face. That's when I stood up from the back, carrying my laptop and a folder of documents. "Actually," I said evenly, "I've been conducting a thorough review of these claims. Would everyone like to see what I've discovered?" Vicky's face went pale, her carefully applied makeup unable to mask the fear. "David, this is highly inappropriate. You have no authority to investigate anything." I ignored her. "Charlotte, could you help me connect to the projector?" Charlotte, hands still trembling from weeks of stress and intimidation, moved to help. "I've spent the week working with a forensic accountant," I told the room, "to analyze every transaction and build a complete picture of what's really happened." The first slide appeared, Green Community Fund Day official registration. "This charity," I explained, "was only registered last Tuesday, 4 days after our previous meeting, when the bank account was frozen. It has no operational history, no board members except Victoria Peterson, and no documented charitable activities." A wave of murmurs rippled across the room. Vicky tried to recover. "The registration date doesn't matter. Charities can operate informally before filing paperwork." "But here's where it gets interesting," I interrupted. I clicked to the next slide, complete bank transaction history. "Over the past 6 months," I said, $30,000 was transferred from our HOA account to various recipients. Let's see exactly where the money went." the screen filled with transaction records. The room erupted as people read them. $5,000 to Tyler Peterson A. Educational Support Services. $3,000 to Tyler Peterson A. Community Youth Liaison Consulting. $8,000 to Peterson Environmental A. Lake Consultation Fees. $4,000 to VIP Catering Services, a company owned by Vicky's sister. $10,000 to Community Improvement Fund A, which, as it turns out, is just Victoria Peterson's personal checking account. Shouts and gasps broke out. She paid her own son. It's all family businesses. This is theft, a straight-up theft of our money. Tyler stood frozen, confusion turning to fear. Moma broken bar, what's happening? I don't a broken bar, I don't understand what this means, Tyler stammered, panic rising in his voice. You said that money was my allowance because I helped you with HOA work. Tyler, shut up right now, Vicky hissed through clenched teeth, but it was too late. Tyler had just admitted in front of everyone that he'd been receiving HOA money. But there's more, I continued, keeping my tone calm despite the growing outrage around us. Tyler, remember that motorcycle you've been so proud of on social media? I projected Tyler's own posts onto the screen. First, a glossy photo of an $18,000 Kawasaki motorcycle, captioned, "Thanks Mom for the bonus money. This bike costs more than most people make in months." Then a short video of Tyler counting a thick stack of cash. Mom gave me $5,000 just because she's awesome. Being the HOA president's son definitely has its perks. And then dance videos, each featuring designer clothes with captions like, "When your mom runs the whole neighborhood and hooks you up with everything. Designer lifestyle thanks to Mom." Gasps spread through the room. Tyler had documented everything himself, oblivious to what it really meant. According to these posts in the bank records, I explained, he received at least $18,000 in HOA money over the past 6 months, and he believed it was just normal allowance money from his mom's successful career. Tyler's panic turned to desperation. His voice cracked as he stood up. I didn't know it was stolen. Mom told me she was a successful businesswoman. She said HOA presidents get paid a lot to manage communities. A broken bar, I thought it was her salary. Vicky tried to jump in, her voice trained. Tyler is confused. He doesn't understand adult financial arrangements. He's mischaracterizing normal family support. I interrupted. Actually, let's ask Tyler directly. Tyler, did your mom tell you the HOA pays her a salary for being president? Yeah, he said, looking around the room with pleading eyes. She told me the community pays her for managing everything. She said the money was from her management fees and consulting work. Silence fell like a weight over the room. Every resident turned to stare at Vicky, disbelief hardening into disgust. A neighbor finally spoke. The HOA president position is volunteer. There's no salary, no consulting fees, nothing. Tyler's face drained of color as the truth hit him. Moma broken bar, you told me you earned this money through your job. Broken bar. Vicky grew frantic. Tyler doesn't understand complex financial arrangements between organizations. So your adult son thought stealing community money was a normal business arrangement? Another resident asked, her voice cold. Tyler slumped back into his chair, tears starting to run down his face. Oh my God, a broken bar. Moma broken bar, did you really steal it? I kept going, methodical and deliberate. Here are the fake invoices from Peterson Environmental, a company that exists only on paper, never performed a single project. Here are the so-called community improvements that never happened, and the youth programs that consisted entirely of cash transfers to Tyler Peterson. The evidence was undeniable. Every transaction had Vicky's signature. Victoria Peterson set up an elaborate scheme to funnel HOA money to herself and her family, I said, voice steady. She used the Green Community Fund as cover, claiming the money was for charitable projects. But it was systematic theft, planned from the start. The scale of it made it worse. Vicky hadn't just made mistakes under pressure, she'd studied the bylaws, registered fake businesses, created fraudulent paperwork, and pulled her own family into the scheme. The Green Community Fund wasn't random. She had filed real documents, built a website, and made it look legitimate. Every meeting where she talked about a community values and a fiscal responsibility had been nothing more than a performance while she looted our treasury behind the scenes. The room was silent except for Tyler's quiet sobs. The golden boy who had flaunted his lifestyle online now realized it had all been built on money stolen from his neighbors. Vicky tried one last desperate move. This is all lies. David is fabricating documents to get revenge because of the lake issue. He's trying to destroy me. Actually, I said calmly, I have something else. I played an audio clip from my phone. Vicky's voice, unmistakable, cold and threatening. I'll make David's life very complicated. People who cross me learn who really runs this community. That was it. The last mask fell. A neighbor stood up, fury in her voice. I motioned for immediate removal of Victoria Peterson as HOA president and referral to police for criminal investigation. Seconded, came voices around the room. All in favor? I asked. Every single hand went up except Vicky's and Tyler's. Tyler stood, shaking, tears streaming. Mama broken bar, I need to go home. I feel sick about all of this. He stumbled toward the exit, finally understanding the price of his mother's lies. Tyler, wait. Vicky called out, chasing after him. I can explain. It's not what it looks like. But Tyler kept walking, unable to face her or the truth. As residents gathered to discuss next steps and likely criminal charges, I quietly packed up my laptop. Charlotte, her eyes wet with relief, came over. Davida broken bar, what will happen to Tyler? He really didn't seem to know. He'll have to answer questions, I said softly, but he's young, and it's clear he was manipulated. The real criminal here was always Vicky. The mastermind here is Vicky, I told Charlotte, watching through the window. Vicky's car was still parked outside, headlights off. She sat inside, probably calling lawyers or planning her next move. This isn't over yet, I warned her. Cornered animals are the most dangerous. She'll try something desperate before this is finished. What could she possibly do now? Charlotte whispered. Everyone knows the truth. I didn't answer. Instead, I watched as Vicky's car finally sped off into the night. When people lose everything, I murmured, sometimes they try to burn down everyone else with them. We need to be ready. What desperate move will Vicky make, now that she's exposed? I wondered. What would you do if you were backed into a corner like Vicky? Monday morning, I woke up to sirens outside. 3 police cars roared past my house toward the community center. My phone buzzed with neighbor texts. Emergency home meeting. Police at the center. Vicky called the cops again. I rushed over. At the community center, Vicky had barricaded herself in the HOA facade. Tyler beside her, looking pale and conflicted. Through the window, I saw her shredding stacks of documents, her face wild with panic. Officer Martinez approached me. Are you David Miller? Yes, ma'am, I said. Inside, she's claiming you've been harassing her and stealing HOA documents. Martinez told me. She's demanding your arrest for fraud and intimidation. Through the glass, Vicky saw me speaking with police. Disheveled hair, smeared makeup. Gone was the polished president. She stormed out, pointing directly at me. Officers, arrest this man immediately, she shrieked. He's been stalking me, breaking into HOA files, fabricating evidence to destroy my reputation. Tyler followed, head bowed, shame written all over his face. Ma'am, let's sort this out calmly, Officer Martinez said. There's nothing to sort out, Vicky snapped. He manipulated records to frame me. It's all revenge for the lake issue. More residents gathered, drawn by the commotion. Charlotte appeared, carrying a box of financial documents. There, Vicky shouted, voice cracking. She's his accomplice, feeding him confidential information. Officer Martinez turned to me. Sir, do you have any proof of your authority in the HOA? I nodded, finally ready for the reveal. From my wallet, I pulled out my official ID and documents. Officers, I'm David Miller, elected budget manager of Oakwood Community HOA, I said, voice steady. I was voted into this position in 2021, 2 years before Mrs. Peterson became president. I handed them over. Here's my appointment letter, signed by the founding board, filed with state authorities, and registered with the bank. Officer Martinez examined the papers carefully. These look legitimate and properly notarized. Vicky's eyes widened in disbelief. That's impossible. I would have known and no one told me about any budget manager. Actually, Vicky, I said, it's listed in every HOA charter document. You'd have known if you'd bothered to read them before assuming you had unlimited power. I turned to the officers and the crowd. As budget manager, I have the legal authority to review expenditures over $5,000, freeze account spending investigation, and report suspected embezzlement. Every step I took was within my legal rights. Mrs. Peterson, I added, acted under the false belief that the HOA president has total financial control. Tyler's voice cracked. Moma Broken Bar, you really didn't know about this position? Tyler, shut up, Vicky snapped, rage and fear flashing across her face. Ma'am, please don't yell at your son, Officer Martinez interjected. Sir, can you explain what you discovered? I faced the residents and police. Over the past 6 months, Mrs. Peterson systematically diverted HOA funds for personal use, I said. She created a fake charity, issued fraudulent invoices from family-run shell companies, and paid her own son thousands in consulting fees for work that never happened. The total embezzled, about $65,000. Gasps rippled through the residence. Even Tyler looked stunned at the number. And what's worse, I added, she used intimidation of threatening the bookkeeper with legal action if she questioned her spending. Charlotte stepped forward, her voice shaking. Officers, that's true. Mrs. Peterson told me I'd face criminal charges if I raised concerns. Officer Martinez turned to Vicky. Mrs. Peterson, how do you respond? Vicky was unraveling completely now. It's all lies. They're conspiring against me. David has been plotting this since the lake incident to take over. Actually, I said calmly, I've monitored HOA finances since 2021. I never intervened before you because past presidents were honest. Your actions forced my hand. Tyler's voice broke. Moma Broken Bar, just tell the truth. Did you really steal the money? I didn't steal anything, she shouted, desperation raw in her voice. That money was for community benefit. But you gave it to me, Tyler cried. You bought me a motorcycle. You paid Uncle Mark's fake company. Tyler, stop talking. Officer Martinez stepped in. Young man, did you know where the money came from? Tyler shook his head, tears falling. Noah Broken Bar, Mom told me the HOA president gets a salary. I thought she earned it. Vicky made a final, frantic accusation. Officers, please. David has been stalking me, breaking into my house, stealing documents and threatening me. Charlotte stepped up, firm now. That's not true. Mr. Miller requested documents through the legal process, and by law, as budget manager, he's entitled to them. I added, every document was obtained legally. Every accusation is supported by bank records, signed authorizations, and recordings of Mrs. Peterson threatening staff and approving fraudulent expenses. Vicky paled, her mouth opening and closing soundlessly. This is all a Broken Bar, a misunderstanding, she gasped. I can pay the money back. I can fix everything. So you do admit there's money to pay back? Officer Martinez pressed. Yeah, Broken Bar, no, I mean it. Tyler stepped forward, voice trembling. Mom, stop. Everyone knows what you did. Please, he Broken Bar, just tell the truth, for once. Officer Martinez pulled out handcuffs. Victoria Peterson, you're under arrest. Victoria Peterson, Officer Martinez announced, you're under arrest for embezzlement of community funds, filing false police reports, and conspiracy to commit fraud. You have the right to remain silent. A Broken Bar. As the handcuffs clicked shut, Vicky finally broke down. This isn't fair, she sobbed. I worked so hard for this community. A Broken Bar. I was trying to make improvements. David ruined everything. Tyler stood by, eyes wet with guilt. Moma Broken Bar, I'm so sorry. I should have asked questions. I should have known. Residents gathered outside watched silently as the woman who had dominated and divided the community was led away, no longer the figure of fear she once was. A neighbor turned to me. Davida Broken Bar, what happens now? Now, I said, we rebuild, we elect new leadership, put proper financial oversight in place, and make sure this never happens again. Will you run for president? Someone asked. I paused, looking around at familiar faces and neighbors I had barely spoken to until crisis forced us together. If the community wants me to serve, I will, but this time, we do it right. Transparency, accountability, and respect for everyone's voice. Tyler approached, hesitating. Mr. Miller, Broken Bar, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, Boot to broken bar. What happens to me? Tyler, I said gently, you made mistakes but you were manipulated by someone you trusted. The courts will decide your legal consequences. But you're young, you can learn from this and build a better life. Will I have to pay the money back? Yes, I said. But there are payment plans, community service options. The goal isn't to ruin your future, it's to make things right. Charlotte stepped closer, smiling slightly. David, should I start preparing next year's budget? Yes, Charlotte, I nodded. And this time, every dollar will be accounted for. Every resident will know exactly where their money goes. As the police cars disappeared with Vicky in the back seat, I stood beside neighbors who no longer felt like strangers. Together, we looked toward a future where the community could finally function as it should. 3 months later my lake had returned to being peaceful, but now it was more than scenery. Every Saturday morning, I hosted community coffee by the water. Neighbors gathered to talk openly about HOA business, to share ideas, or just to enjoy each other's company. Tyler had sold his motorcycle, moved back in with his father, and started a community service program. He was quieter, more thoughtful, slowly earning back trust. Vicky, meanwhile, received an 18-month prison sentence and was ordered to pay back $65,000 in restitution. Her house went up for sale. She would never again hold power in our community. Charlotte thrived as the new head financial officer, running a transparent process where every cent was traceable. And I discovered something I hadn't expected. Being involved wasn't a burden, it was deeply rewarding. When people are given a voice and leadership is honest, truly amazing things can happen. A new sign by the lake now reads, Miller Ranch Lake Community A welcome by invitation. Sometimes, neighbors bring their kids to fish in the afternoons. Other times, we sit quietly, watching the ripples catch the sky. Last week, Tyler visited for the first time since the arrest. Mr. Miller, broken bar, can I ask you something? He said, a little nervous. Of course. Why didn't you just move away when Mom started causing trouble? I thought for a moment. Because running away doesn't fix anything, Tyler. Sometimes you have to stand up and fight for what's right, even when it's hard. I wish I'd learned that sooner, he whispered. You're learning it now, I told him. That's what matters. As the sun set over the lake, I realized this place had finally become what I dreamed it could be. Peaceful, honest, and shared among people who truly respect each other. Sometimes, the quietest person really is running the whole show, and sometimes, that's exactly what the show needs. Did justice truly win? Maybe. Or maybe there are more Vickies and power-hungry HOA presidents lurking everywhere. If you've ever faced a Karen like this, share this story. Someone out there needs to see this ending.